In this video, we will study about web services. Very important concept. It is very old concept, but very relevant in today's IT as well, right? So web services, many people are designing web services. The fine-tuned or fine-grained version of web services is microservices. So when microservices is trending, it is because of the concepts of web services, right? So let's understand what is web services. Web services are software applications, software programs, you can say, that can be discovered, described and accessed based on XML and standard web protocols over the intranet, extranet and the internet, right? So web services are the software programs which can be discovered. So you can find them, you can search them, you can even describe them. They are described, you can easily understand what is the service all about and you can access them, right? So those are web services. So in SOA, when you are designing services, in SOA, S1, S2, S3 and so on, right, they are all deployed in a single physical server, right? So they communicate each other using enterprise service bus, ESB mechanism they use to communicate among themselves, right? So here the communication is local within a single server. But what if somebody outside the network, this is in a single network, this whole is in a one network, this is a single network, somebody outside your network want to access your service, right? That's what I say here, intranet, extranet and internet. So other network people want to access your service and get some response. Okay, in your application you have designed a service S3 which is a very popular service. So others don't want to build it again, they want to use your service, so they can access that, right? So you are exposing your service S3 over the internet to the outside world, right? So anybody can access your program. The best example to understand web services is the apps like Uber, Swiggy, right? All these, they use one service called Maps, Google Maps. So Google Maps have designed or they are exposing their Maps feature, map service to the outside world. So what Uber is doing, in Uber app they are calling this service, they are using this service and getting the response. So Uber is actually calling or using a web service. It is invoking a service by Google, that is Google Maps. So one service of Google Maps they are trying to use it. Even Swiggy, how you see that location, no? How the location is what we say integrated in these apps, because they are calling a service, Maps service in their app, right? Because Google has exposed this over the internet. Anybody can access these maps in their app. So if you are designing any mobile app, you can still integrate that Google Maps in your app as well, like Uber, Swiggy and all other people are doing it, right? So this is one web service exposed over the internet. These are the clients who are trying to access the service and using it in their apps, right? So web services are the services provided in a SOA deployed over the web. That's what SOA services deployed over the web. If you are doing them, they are called as web services. See, SOA is a theoretical concept. It says you have to follow these steps to design any application using SOA. And web services is the proof of that. Web services is the implementation of the SOA concept, right? So by using web services, your application can publish its function or message to the rest of the world. You can expose your service to the rest of the world. Anybody who wants to use that service can use it, right? So web services use XML to code and to decode the data and SOAP to transport it. Okay, we will study about SOAP, what it is, in the next slide. So elements of web services. There are three very important elements for web services to exist and function, right? The first one is SOAP. SOAP stands for Simple Object Access Protocol, right? And the second one is WSDL. WSDL file we say, WSDL file or WSDL file we say, Web Services Definition Language. Okay, Web Services Definition Language or Web Services Description Language. Description language. There are two versions of this. You can call it as definition language or description language. And the third one is UDDI, Universal Description, Discovery and Integration. What are these three things? Let's understand, right? So when I have designed a service, web service, let's say web service 1, right. So, other people can access this, how can they know, how do they know that there exists a service like this? For that we use UDDI. UDDI is a repository which contains information about web services like this, right. Then there is some client is there here, he wants to use that service, web service 1. How he knows what is this web service about, what input it takes, what output it will give, that all the client should know beforehand, right. For that WSDL helps, WSDL file helps, right. So, what is WSDL file here? It helps us in understanding what is the service about, right. It will tell us what is the service about, what is the input for this, what is the output of this service, what input it will take, what output it will give, and it will also talk about how many functions does this service does. Everything that is defined or described in the WSDL file, right. And once the client understands that details about the web service, it has to send a request. So, that communication between the client and the web service 1 happens through SOAP protocol. Okay, it is a message exchange standard protocol that supports service communication. So, web services will be communicating with each other using SOAP protocol, right. So, it is helping for communication. This is helping to understand what is the service about, what is the input, what is the output format. And UDDI is the repository where you can store all the web services publicly, right. So, one web services architecture, same thing, let us understand. You see, here I have UDDI registry, right. So, there is a web service and there is a client. So, what is the process? Publishing is the first step. The provider implements business logic. So, I am trying to create one web service, I will implement that business logic and I will prepare one web service 1, let us say. Then I will deploy the web service in some server and I will generate the WSDL file for that, and then I will publish that web service and WSDL file into UDDI, right. So, you are writing a program, web service is a program again, it is a small program or a feature, some functionality you are trying to implement it, it is an SOA service. So, you will write this code, you will do the coding of this, then you will deploy it. After deploying, then you will generate a WSDL file, and this WSDL file you will be putting in the UDDI registry. That is what the first step is, publish. I wrote the web service and then I am publishing it in the UDDI registry. The second step is that subscribing. So, I did my job as a developer, as a company, as in some software company, I designed lot of web services and I deployed them in the UDDI registry. Now, some client wants to access the web service, he is doing some business, he wants to access some web services, right. So, he is called subscriber. So, the subscriber searches in UDDI to locate suitable publisher. So, the client basically will go and search in the UDDI with some keywords, keyword based search, like you do searching in Google, you open Google and you say no, you want this thing, you search there, right, in search bar. Same way the client will go or the subscriber will go and search in the UDDI registry. What is there in UDDI registry? What is there? There is a WSDL file. So, based on the keyword matching, it will show a few possible WSDL files. So, the client can open one WSDL file, try to understand, oh, this service is about giving the climate every day, and it will understand what is the input for that, what is the output for that, that will try to understand. The client will try to understand. If that requirement is matching with that WSDL file, then WSDL also contains information about how to access it, how to access the web service 1. That information is also given in the WSDL file, right. That is what the subscriber goes to UDDI, searches UDDI to locate the suitable publisher. After that, he downloads the WSDL from the publisher, then creates the client proxy. Based on the IP details or the URL details available in the WSDL, the subscriber or the client will try to create the proxy, means creating network connection to access that particular service. Then once the connection is created, right, client application initiates the client proxy. Then calls functions on the proxy on this network connection, then the client will call the function. Proxy does SOAP communication with the web service. So when two service and client are communicating, the communication happens through SOAP protocol, right? And the request is sent, then the client processes results returned by the proxy, right? This is how the web services functions. Okay, a provider has to first implement the web service, register in the UDDI, then the client comes, he will go and search in the UDDI, get the connection details, send a request to the web service, access it and get the job done, right? So this is the web service architecture. So there are three roles basically: provider implements the service and makes it available, right? Service requester, any consumer of the web service, he will utilize an existing web service by opening a network connection and sending an XML request, right? And the third one is service registry. It means logically centralized directory of services. So it provides a center place where developers can publish new services or find existing ones, right? So it serves as a centralized clearing house for companies and their services. So everybody who is designing web services will be dumping them in the service registry, right? So service provider will be dumping their services in the registry. Requester or the consumer will try to go search in the UDDI, get the proper web service and try to access that, right? So these are different roles in web service. Let's understand how web services works. So this is a client, right? Client queries registry to locate a service based on some text, matching the text or keyword matching. It will go and search in the UDDI registry. Then UDDI registry refers client to WSDL document. So UDDI registry, there is a WSDL document for each service. So this UDDI registry will show a link to a WSDL document. Then once the WSDL document is known, then the client accesses the WSDL document. Why? This WSDL file contains everything. What is the URL to hit that service, what is the input format, what is the output format, what data structure it uses or what data type it uses, everything is located in the WSDL file. So now the client accesses WSDL file to understand how it looks like and how to access that. Then the WSDL provides data to interact with the web services. When I access that file, it gives a response back. WSDL file provides data to me to interact with the web service. After that, he will create the connection and send the request to the actual web service. So the client sends SOAP message request to the web service code, the service where it is actually deployed. The request goes and hits to that particular program and the web service gives the response in the SOAP. So communication between the client and the web service provider or the web service code happens through SOAP protocol, right? So this is the scheme how the web services work, right? I hope it's very clear and simple. Web services, there are three things: publishing, subscribing and invoking, right? Theoretically speaking, SOA says that if you can deploy the services in your own local server, but if you are making them available to the outside world, it is called as a web service because it is available in the web. Okay, so this is all about web services. In the next videos, we will talk more about what is SOAP, what is WSDL and what is UDDI registry. Okay, thank you.